Many of the new features within Next.js 13 are now stable following the release of 13.4. Bring things to the table such as the new app directory, which improves upon the pages directory in terms of building layouts. Data fetching has been completely revamped. React server components have been added. We now have built-in SEO support, and so much more. This series is not built with the beginner developer in mind. This series is built for those who at least know the basics of React in Next.js 12. I'm not going to go through topics such as hydration, rendering, or the basics of programming, as I really want to focus on the actual changes that have happened between versions 12 and 13. We will also be using TypeScript and Tailwind CSS within this series for everything that we build. All the code from each lesson will be able to be found on my GitHub, link in the description. Let's get started. So what's new in Next 13? Firstly, we have the new app directory replacing the pages directory. This introduces React server components, but will give you a large boost in your app's web vitals, streaming to allow loading states, as well as the biggest change being how layouts work. Routing between the app directory and pages directory is quite similar. However, now there are a few more parts. You now have a page.js file that replaces your index.js file. However, now you have tools such as a layout.js file that will wrap your entire page. Maybe if you want to put a nav bar in, it makes it a lot easier. We also have pages for loading states, so if you're fetching something dynamically, as well as error pages out of the box. We'll go through more of this later. Data fetching is much simpler and much more readable than in version 12 and below. You can say goodbye to exporting get static props, get static paths, and get server-side props. For data fetching, now you can do it all within a simple fetch call that most JavaScript developers are already familiar with. SEO support is also now drastically improved. You can now directly export a metadata object from your layout or page file that can handle the metadata and link tags, which are incredibly important for your SEO. It also makes your code much more concise than having to use the old head component. Combine all of this with the improvements on the built-in image component, built-in self-hosted font support, and even more, we have quite the powerful but admittedly daunting update from the Next.js team. Let's jump over to VS Code to get started and create a project. Okay, so once we're in VS Code, we need to make sure you have an up-to-date version of Node. You need 16.8 or above to be able to run a Next.js 13 app. So I'm just going to do node-v, and you see I'm on 18.16. Okay, so next, I want to create a Next.js project in my current directory. So I'm going to do next, or npx create next app at latest, and since I'm going to create it in my current directory, I'm just going to do period. We are going to use TypeScript. I'm going to use linting. That's up to you. We are going to use Tailwind. We're not going to use the source directory, and we are going to use the app router. And we're also not going to use import aliases. Okay, perfect. So now, once this is finished, we will have a fully functioning Next project, and I'll be back once it's done loading. Okay, so once that's done loading, you can see we now have a Next.js 13 project ready for us to use. In the next one, we're going to go through the differences with the app router and how to use it in order to build layouts. But that's all for this one. We're going to talk about that more in the next one. And yeah, like and subscribe, and you can find all the code in my GitHub, link in the description. Cheers.